Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am KRX, and we are going to be taking a look at the Gates of Loyang, a board game here by Uwe Rosenberg. Kind of an older one, to be honest, but we're going to be showing you guys a solo playthrough for the game. Plays usually up to 4 players, and in the solo game, it's a little bit different how you acquire the cards in order to do the actions. But for the most part, it's going to play relatively similar, and we're just kind of trying to obtain a high score, a high prosperity level. The objective of the game is to sort of move up this prosperity track as much as we can before the end of the 9 rounds. And this isn't going to be a replacement to reading the rule book, but we are going to be sort of teaching the game as we go. And we have this sort of little handy player aid card here that will actually just sort of tell us the 3 phases in the game and how those phases work and stuff like that. The very first thing we do actually in terms of setting up the game is every player gets one of these boards and a little prosperity marker guy here. He's actually not on the track yet, so he'll start moving up. We'll start working on that each round at the end of each round. Every player starts with $10, and every player then in sort of turn order, of course it's just a solo game that we're playing, but every player in turn order basically decides one of the 3 vegetables to initially stow into their field, because essentially what we're doing is it's ancient China, and we're growing vegetables, we're sending them to market, we're delivering them to customers, making money, and then money can be used to grow our, build up our prosperity. And so we need to decide between wheat, pumpkins and radishes, and essentially this is a little shop. Every player gets a little sort of shop board at the start of the game filled with vegetables. So this is not our shop, it's just a shop that we have, a local shop that we can go in and purchase seeds from, essentially vegetables or seeds, whatnot. So of these 3, we can actually buy one of these and plant it into our field, and this will actually mark the 9 rounds in the game, because every round, we'll see how this works, but when we sow one of these into this field, we'll be slowly harvesting these crops over the course of 9 rounds, and then when that's over, it'll signify the last round of the game. So let's, there's some considerations that we could consider here, like just cost. We do have to pay for the initial vegetable. So we start with $10. You know what the heck, let's just get a wheat for $3. So 3 of our starting bucks. I'm just going to throw that back in the money supply. And it doesn't matter which one we grab here. We're going to get, the wheat is kind of special. You have a little bit of extra room for wheat in the shop, so to speak. And when there's actually available slots here, we can actually sell back to the shop. So there is a little bit of supply and demand going on with the shop, but basically we take this wheat, and this is part of setup. We haven't actually started like playing the game yet proper, but we all start with this home field, which is going to be 9 of the initial starting crop. Now, we could have paid more for a more expensive crop and therefore had a more expensive crop sowed into this large field, and there's certainly economic reasons that we would have wanted to do that. But there is one other little consideration with the setup that we have that I was considering here in why we're doing wheat. And that's because we're going to actually be taking cards from this sort of market here in order to be doing actions and to be playing up our own little tableau over here. And I'm noticing that there's actually a card here that has some wheat on it, and that'll be a person that actually wants us to deliver them wheat. Now, there are other cards with other, here's one that requires turnips and such, but we could talk about how we're going to be able to access these cards and what's limiting in that sense. So anyways, we're still doing the setup. We've decided to do wheat for $3, so we have $7 left over, which is nice. Money is pretty important in this game. So the very first thing we do is we're going to actually pull this off, and we can put it in our little supply here to say we have this wheat that's like sort of ready to go. And the other thing we do is we flip over a new field card. Every round you'll be flipping over a field card. And in this case, we can see a little bit about this field card, because the very first card, a little bit of a green screen issue there, but I think we'll get the point across. This field card here essentially allows us to sow wheat, pumpkins, turnips, and cabbages, whereas the initial home card here is only, as you can see, it's only field, wheat, pumpkin, and turnip. So now we actually can sow cabbages. We can actually, and most of the cards, most of the field cards that you pull out of this deck will be able to sow a larger variety of crops. You can see that cabbages are just barely 1 step sort of above the basic 3. All right, so that's our field. This is a field that in the course of this turn, in this first turn, we're going to want to try to plant something in there. We could take this wheat that we've actually gotten and planted in there, but there might be some other considerations to do, and we're not quite in that phase yet. So that's the harvest phase completed. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is we're basically going to be in the solo game. There's a little bit of an interesting sort of card selection mechanism in a larger player count game, 2, 3, and 4. In fact, it's actually particularly interesting in 2 players. But in the solo game, essentially, it's just this grid of available cards, and we're going to end up taking 2 of them. And it's relatively simple. All the cards in this column here are free. All the cards in this column here cost $1, and these 6 cards cost $2. And you can sort of see this denoted. I have these here just to remind us of the cost of these cards. In fact, if we look a little bit more at these cards, there's essentially 4 kinds of cards. There are the regular customers, the one-time customers, and there are the market stall cards, and there are the different sort of helpers that give you sort of like special powers that you can use. And then, of course, there's more field cards, but we've already talked about the field cards. The tricky thing about the field cards is you actually have to pay $2 to take and plant and to take this card. It's an extra additional fee. So in that case, it would actually cost $4 to take this card. That's kind of expensive, but you know, who knows? We might need more fields, and that might be worth it. So the cards that are played in this tableau here, where, for example, if we were to take this card, it actually matches, this is kind of an orange background here, it matches this orange section here, so that would go in here, and you're playing out your little market stalls this way. And these are people where we can actually do bartering. Instead of going to our shop and paying a relatively large cost for the beans or for the cabbage, as we can see here, it's $5 for the cabbage, it's $6 for the beans. Instead, we could actually just come down to this guy here. It's kind of nice. This guy here, we could just trade a vegetable. This just says put a vegetable here and get this thing. Put a vegetable here and get this thing. It's a one-time trade, but that's still a really, I mean, heck, we got wheat, right? We could use this wheat and trade it for a cabbage or a bean, and that's economically definitely a good trade for us. So that's what these guys do, is they essentially let you exchange vegetables without having to use money. There's, you know, the regular customers, they want to buy vegetables. One-time customers want a certain sort of shopping list of stuff, and it's a one-time thing. Reoccurring customers, you can actually service them multiple times throughout the game. It's pretty nice. And then, like we said, there's some of these with the special powers. And I think we'll look. These cards are kind of expensive, and if we take cards from here, you can imagine that in the next round we can actually plan to take these cards in the future, because they'll kind of shift over, and we'll see how that works. But I think honestly, for the most part, this regular customer here, it's pretty good to get a regular customer. This regular customer here wants wheat, and it turns out they want cabbage. So we have the wheat covered. We can supply this person wheat, but how do we supply them cabbage? That's the question. So if we get this regular customer, they're going to go here and match this blue section here. You can see that one-time customers go here, regular customers go here, the market stalls here, and the helpers, the special sort of special power cards that are like one-time use special powers, they go here. Let's grab that card. And every time we take a regular customer, we have to take one of these tokens from the supply and put it on this side. And this just denotes that they're happy right now. If we do not deliver to this person by the end of this turn, they will get upset. They will get upset. We'll flip that happiness token over. Now, the first time they get upset, not a big deal. The second time, if this red token is already exposed and we cannot deliver to them, well, then we're going to actually have to pay them $2 as a penalty to basically, basically kind of almost like give them a discount on their next purchase or something like that to rectify the fact that they're angry with us. So I think actually we could get that customer. It's free. I mean, free is great. And the thing is, we just talked about how this guy actually could get us a white cabbage, which this person wants. So honestly, I think our first initial turns are just going to be grabbing this regular customer for free, this trade card for free, and whenever you get one of these little merchants and you've committed it to your board, you just put the little vegetables from, the supply here, and you put them on here to make it easy so that when you actually go to make these trades, that's sort of ready to go. And now we have taken our 2 cards. That's literally the action phase. That is the action phase. These cards here are going to be removed. So we're not going to have any chance to get this card. This card is not. You'd think that maybe the leftmost would get removed, but no, this one's stuck here. until basically until we use it. These cards are going to get removed. Then everything's going to shift down, and then you're going to fill in sort of the gaps in this grid, and that'll be sort of at the end of the round. So that you don't, we're still planning. We know that a lot of these cards here in these columns will come down and be cheaper next time. We know these cards are going to get removed. We know this one's still going to stick around, but we don't know what's going to actually be new opportunities that are going to come out next time. Actually, these ones are actually going to be free, right? Because we can see how they're going to slide all the way over. Anyways, moving on to the most important phase, which is the actions. And the actions, you can do as many of them as you want in any order that you want. Except for the only thing is there's something called buy a 2-pack, and that you can only do once per turn. In fact, I think we're going to do that immediately just to see what that is, and also give us the most sort of knowledge as to our situation so that we can make informed choices about the rest of our actions. Although I kind of have an idea as to what we're going to do with our actions. The 2-pack basically lets you buy 2 cards blind from the deck. Okay? The cost, though, of this scales based on how large your Tableau infrastructure is. And right now, and it's based specifically on your helpers and your market stalls, whichever is more, so basically having a lot of market stalls increases the cost, and having a lot of helpers increases the cost. The customers don't matter. That's not a big deal. So in this case, we have 1 market stall. That means that the 2-pack costs 1. So $1, and we can get 2 more cards. That's pretty amazing. What did we get on our 2-pack? Game has a lot of green, apparently. So we have the official. This action phase, and these are abilities we can play down into our Tableau, and we can use them when we want. It's not literally immediately, but this is something we can do when we want. And it says, in this action phase, the buy a 2-pack action is free for you. Okay, great. We just paid a coin for a 2-pack action. We just throw down this official. We can just get one for free in the future. That's not too bad. Or we could get a regular customer over, or sorry, an immediate customer. And these customers, they'll wait around forever. This customer will wait around and wait around and wait around for us to deliver this stuff. But once we deliver 2 pumpkins and a bean, this person's done. They're gone. We would score some money down here, and there's a modifier based on some factors that we can talk about when we work on this. But in this case, honestly, I'm not too pleased about this person, because for the most part, that's not something we're working on. We're not working on pumpkins or beans as far as, I mean, we can't even plant beans yet, and the pumpkins aren't something we started yet. But, so we can save this. So these 2 cards, we don't have to keep both of them. We just have to pick, do we want one of, and again, there's a situation where you don't want extra cards, right? Because more cards are just increasing the cost of these free cards every round, your 2-pack. But also these customers, if you just pile up a bunch of these customers and you don't service them, they actually decrease the value. They actually have less value because they sort of recognize that you're not treating them as well. So they pay you less when you serve it. These immediate customers, you kind of want them to come in and out. You can let them pile up if you need to, but there's a system in the game where you get a little bit of a bonus, plus 2 coins for servicing them if you're pretty quick about it, and if you actually are not sort of taking advantage of these immediate customers. Or you could take a penalty if you are letting them pile up. The official sounds like, why would we not take the official? I mean, that's a no-brainer. This one, I think we're actually going to get rid of this one altogether. Although the way that this works is if we wanted both of them, we have to pick one of them and play one of them, and the other one is actually tucked underneath. And when you finish the top one, it reveals the second one to be played at that point. So in this case, if we put this one down like this, holy cow, it would be forever until we finish this person and get the official unlocked. If we did want to keep this other customer, we'd probably put the official on top, and we'd put them over here in the helper section. When we use the official, it would immediately dislodge and allow this to be played. But again, I think for the most part, this is not someone that we even want to bother with right now. So we're going to put the official down. That doesn't hurt us at all. It does technically mean that if we get another official, a 2-pack would cost 2. But the whole point of this official is it gives us a free 2-pack. So it doesn't hurt us at all to take that official card. That helper card, which happens to be the official. This card, I think we're just gonna discard it. I'm gonna actually have the discard off screen here. And so we've done our 2-pack. We can only do that once per turn, so I can't just buy another 2-pack and keep going like that. But that's taken care of. But we have this grain, and one of the things that we can do based on the actions is we can sow vegetables. So we could just put this into this field and be harvesting 2 wheat per turn, because you always harvest 1 vegetable from each field. But we don't really want to do double wheat. We're already getting wheat. We need cabbage. Well, it turns out that this market stall right here actually has the cabbage that we need. So what we could do is we can quite literally just go here and actually exchange 1 wheat for this 1 cabbage. We now have the cabbage we need. Now we can immediately place it into this field, and once you sow it in the field, you immediately fill all of the things with tokens from the supply. Okay. So now we are gathering literally the 2 exact vegetables that we need to satisfy this customer. The only kicker here is we do not actually have them this round. So this customer is not being satisfied this round, and this customer is going to go to its angry side. Now, the first time that happens, it's okay. But next turn, we're going to be harvesting a grain and a cabbage, and those will immediately be able to go to this customer. And we can see that we work from the bottom to the top. We work from the bottom to the top. When we put a grain, we have to deliver this as a set. You can't just deliver one at a time. But if we can deliver this set of vegetables to this customer, the first time it's $4. And then from there, if we can continue to do this, it's $4, $5, $6, $7. So this is a good sort of source of permanent income for the next 4 turns until this person is sufficiently satisfied that they'll just sort of move on. And we know that we have 5 cabbage coming to us, so we have plenty of cabbage to do this. We'll even have 1 cabbage left over at the end to replant or to work on some other task that we might need. So this is actually going to be, we have this person on lock, but we are not satisfying them this turn. That is the end of the action phase. We could spend this money to get more vegetables. We could actually try to buy a grain and a cabbage from the shop and then use that to satisfy the customer, but it wouldn't be worth it. We'd be spending way more money buying a cabbage for 5 coins just to be able to ultimately try to get 4 coins from the customer. That would be a waste. Instead, what we're going to do with our leftover money is we're going to move up the prospect track. We are done with the action phase, and we're doing sort of the final prospect movement. I said prospect, but I mean prosperity track. So the way the prosperity track works is essentially the very first time. This is a key aspect of sort of the way that the game maths out. You might think, based on how I'm initially explaining it, it would be easy to move up this track all the way to the top, but it ends up being excruciatingly slow to move up this track. The very first time you move up this track, it costs per turn. Per turn is 1 coin. No matter where you're at on the track. It's always 1 coin to move up once. In this case, we're not even on the track. I'm going to spend 1 coin, and we're going to move up 1 time. Now, to move up again, if I want to do additional movements in a single turn, I have to pay the price of the step. So in this case, the next step, this turn is going to cost me $2. And then if I want to go up again, the next step would cost me $3. It turns out we have exactly $5. We are probably going to spend this to go up 2 more steps because that's cheap right now. Those are cheap movements. That's 3 movements in a single turn for $5. The kicker is we could have just waited till next turn and we could have moved up to the 2 space for $1. So why did we just spend 5? Well, you only have 9 turns in this game. So if you literally were only spending $1 per turn to move up 1 step, you would have a score of 9. And I can tell you right now, that is an abysmal score. You're going to want to try to get up to the 18, 19, and 20. Okay, at the top of the track here. But again, if you think about that, what we just did that turn required $6 left over at the end of our turn. Next turn, if we were to try to do the same thing, it would be $1 to get to the 4 space. Right? It's always $1 for your first step. Then to move up the 5th and 6th to make 3 moves in the next turn would cost us $11. Are we going to have $11 left over at the next turn? Probably not. So you can imagine that, and that only is going to continue to accelerate as we try to push higher up the track. But it's really good that we're able to get 3 movements in the first turn. That is a really good, strong first turn. In fact, overall, we're doing quite well. We're doing quite well. Okay, so a little bit of maintenance at the end of the turn. These 3 cards are going to be discarded. A little bit of a goofy rule there. You just got to remember it's the ones in this second column that get discarded. The cards then slide over and sort of fill the space. And then we refill. And we have some new cards that have come out. So next round, we are starting at round 2. And we do the harvest phase. So in the harvest phase, we're going to flip over. We're going to get a new field. Oh, this is the field. I know this is green screen's a little goofy. This is the field, though, however, that allows us to plant anything all the way up to leeks. We can do beans or leeks on this field. The tricky thing is this field only has 3 spaces. So the fields that allow you to do the high-end vegetables, the leeks and the beans, unfortunately, those fields just don't have the same capacity. So it's particularly difficult to service customers, especially regular customers that might require, 4 leeks if your field doesn't even let you get 4 leeks in the first place. So we've got a new field. You get a new field every single turn. And then we harvest something off every single turn. We keep these vegetables in our little sort of cart area. It's important to note that if we had leftover vegetables, you can only store 1 leftover vegetable from turn to turn. The game is relatively punishing. You need to be using your resources that you have as efficiently as possible. So we've harvested those 2 vegetables. There is a way to change that. You can actually, what you can do is you can spend 2 coins. It says here, spend 2 coins to flip this over. If you flip this card over, then you can store 4 vegetables on it from turn to turn instead of just 1. Now, however, but again, if you think about it, if you've got a lot of vegetables lying around, you're not really using them to make money. If you're not using them to make money, you're not going up the prosperity track. So there's a serious inefficiency to needing to upgrade your storage. And then also there's an inefficiency to just having vegetables lying around. Sometimes you have to do it, but it's painful to have to do that. You want to just be getting it, it's a just-in-time inventory. You want it to be coming in and going out just as you need it. Okay, so we are now done with the harvest phase. The harvest phase is pretty basic and pretty straightforward, aside from that initial one at the start of the game where you do a little bit of setup. Now we're looking at the cards. We are looking at the cards that are available. Again, remembering that anything here is $1, anything here is 2, and anything here is 2. These are the free ones. So this one would cost us $2. We don't even have any. I'm just realizing we have no money. We have no money. So we are in some serious trouble right now. I didn't even think about the fact that we needed to save some money to be able to have the flexibility over here. Okay, what does the Squire get us? During the card phase, okay, so Squire says, oh, I'm just realizing we're in the wrong thing here to see that. During the card phase, instead of taking 1 card from your hand, 1 card from the Courtyard, you can take 1 card from your hand and up to 3 cards from the Courtyard. Okay, so this is the Courtyard, right? This area here is representing the Courtyard. So this would basically, essentially, this allows us to take more cards. We could take 4 cards in a single turn. We could take 4 cards in a single turn. But we'd have to pay for them. So this is, we're going to take this because it's free. And we're going to take it because it's free. It's going to increase the cost of a 2-pack, but we know we have this official to reduce the cost to free anyways, which is important because we don't have any money. And then I guess what we could do is we could try to work on this customer, but holy cow, are we far away from being able to get this done? I'm already thinking, okay, well, we could try to plant a leek here. Thing is, we don't have a market stall over here that will get us a leek, so how the heck are we going to pay for a leek? Wow. We can take a loan. So the one thing that I haven't talked about, because usually you don't want to do this and usually you don't have to do this, is we could take a loan, $5, and I believe we are essentially, unless we take this customer, we're forced to take a loan because we have to take 2 cards in this phase. So the loan gives us $5. And you know what? The problem with the loan is after the last round, at the very last round, no matter where we are on the prosperity track, we have to move back once. So we're going to be spending like $18 to move up this track at the very, very final turn. And this loan is going to force us to move back 1. That is extremely painful. Again, the difference between a 17 in this game and an 18 is huge. Like moving up the little bits at the beginning is extremely easy. Moving up at the end is very hard. So the difference, like the level of expertise it requires to get a high score in this game, like the difference between a 16 and 17 is massive, and so on and so forth. Anyways, so the point of the story is we have to take the loan. Let's take the loan and we'll just put it there to remind ourselves we've got a loan. $5. What are we buying now that we have a little bit of cash? The maid says that in this action phase, you may exchange vegetables 1-to-1 at the market stall spaces, where you would usually have to trade 2-to-1. Okay, so that the market stall spaces that we have here are just 1-to-1 anyways, but there are some markets that actually require you to do 2 vegetables for 1, sometimes for the leeks and the more expensive stuff. That's not particularly relevant to us at the moment. Buy a vegetable, the shopper buy a vegetable from the shop, or sorry, from the supply, not from the shop. Vegetable costs 2 less than it would from the shop. So we could essentially just get a vegetable for a discount. So that's not, terrible. It's kind of saves us the money there. This customer here wants cabbage, and we are doing cabbage, but it'd be nice if we had a customer that wanted cabbage. This customer will want cabbage and they'll want leeks. And we're saying that there is a possibility that we could try to plant leeks there, but man, that's tough. I'm realizing we don't really need the maid, and the maid, these are going to get removed at the end of this turn. These are going to stay here. We could technically get into the field, but I just don't think we're going to have the vegetables to even plant into it anyways. The leek costs $6 if we're going to buy it raw. That's not good. I'd rather have the shopper. We've already taken the squire because I think for the most part a free card is still better than not. This card here would get us a leek. It'd cost us $2. Now I'm wondering, okay? Now I'm wondering. I don't know about this squire. We could take the squire. It's going to be free next time. We could take it next time. I'm almost thinking here, this person would actually allow us to trade a single vegetable for a leek, so we could get one for on the cheap, but it costs us $2 to get the card. I still don't know if it would all work out. $1 here, $4, move up 1. This is going to be really tough. This turn, we're not moving up nearly as fast, and we've taken a loan. Getting that, this could be worth up to $11 if we sell to this person, but it requires it. Oh, this person has a turnip. This person has a turnip on the card as well. That's 2 of the things that we ultimately need here to do this card. And we know that we're getting, it'll be, oh man, but it'll be a while before we have the extra cabbage because this customer constantly is going to be eating up all of our cabbage that we get for the next 3 turns. But I like this. I think we could do this. This isn't really going to get any cheaper. This regular customer here, there's too many things that we're just not working on right now at all. You know what? Go big or go home. Let's spend $3 and we're going to get this card and this card. Unfortunately, that's going to also permanently increase the cost of our 2-packs. Up to 2. But we could actually do a technique. There's a little technique we could do to try to get rid of some of these cards here, and we could see how that sort of works. In fact, actually, I kind of like that idea, because otherwise, if we use this guy, we get a free 2-pack. Okay, so we're done with the card phase. We have purchased our 2 cards. Unfortunately, we had to take a loan to do that, and it was quite expensive even with the loan. Now, if we're going to get a 2-pack right now, it's $2. We could use this guy to get a free 2-pack, but to be honest, I'm kind of thinking if we can get down to $1 for a 2-pack, I think that's worth it. So we're going to take this grain. A little bit of a sneaky thing you can do, but we're going to take this grain, and once these markets have done their barters, they actually get discarded. So otherwise you cannot get rid of these people just on their own. You can always discard your helpers, but that's the only card on your board that you are allowed to discard at will. But in this case, this is what's causing the 2-pack to be cost 2 anyways. The helper has nothing to do with it. I'm going to come down here and trade a wheat for a bean. Okay. Now this bean is obviously quite valuable. We could plant it and all kinds of things. I mean, that bean's quite good. But we're actually going to come over here and we're actually going to trade the bean for the wheat. And we literally just, and this is now a completed card. Okay. Now a completed card. Done all of the trading that you can do on this card. Just for now, I can show the discard here just so you guys know we're discarding it. Eventually, we're going to have a lot of fields up here, though, so we won't have that space. So this slides over, and now the cost of a 2-pack is only 1, and we can continue to save this guy for future 2-packs when they're more expensive. Let's spend 1, and let's see what we get from the 2-pack just to help inform our decision here. Oh. This is the reason why I think we made a little bit of a boo-boo here. Now, we know that we're going to be satisfying this customer. We know we have to satisfy this customer, else we're going to lose $2 and have to take another loan. That's just abysmal. We satisfied this customer, and we got $4. Okay? We've got $4 from satisfying this customer. Now we do the 2-pack, which costs $1. And to play one of these fields is going to cost us 2. And if we play them on and if we play them on top of each other, it literally, once this field is done, this one will activate and be playable. That's actually kind of strong. The interesting thing about this is we could actually plant a turnip here. And that would be pretty good to pair with the leek that we're going to be harvesting from this one, hopefully. I don't know if we're going to be able to muster all this, though. If we play this for 2, we'll have $3 left over. $3 does get us a grain, and a grain can exchange for a leek or a turnip. Leek or a turnip. Believe it or not, yeah, I think we're going to do that. Oh man, we're not going to have, are we not going to have any money left over to go up? We're not going to be going up the prosperity track, even though it only costs us $1 to do that. Oh no. This was a bad draw of the 2-pack. This was a very bad draw. Really just squeezing all of our available money. If this person gave us one, we're $1 short. We are $1 short from doing what we truly want to do here. Put it underneath? So this card is not played. It's just tucked underneath for now. $2. Play this out. So we can either move up the prosperity track once and keep a couple bucks for next turn, or we actually need to buy a grain and then use that grain to start exchanging here in order to start planting here so that next turn we can actually harvest, you know, the value that we get from actually harvesting those things. You know, here's what I'm thinking. These fields here are relatively small fields. We still have 7 more turns in the game. If we plant anything in either of these areas, we will absolutely be able to harvest through them. So there's really, it is good to be getting the resources now rather than later, but I think we need to save money to avoid taking a loan next turn. We're going to save our $3. I spend $1 to go up 1 space on the prosperity track. Whew, okay. And we are not trying to sow into these fields yet. We're just going to kind of leave them there. And I know, unfortunately, we're going to get another field here. And it's like, I don't know. It's tough. Tough. Kind of in a little bit of a bind. We're going to save these $2. That's the end of the turn. That's all we could do. That turn was not nearly as impressive as our first turn, but next turn will be great because next turn that customer is going to give us $5 and hopefully we'll have a little bit of wiggle room in order to kind of keep doing more. Now, unfortunately, none of these free cards refresh, so all those free cards are just stuck there. That is part of the crux of how this solo mode has been designed. It's painful, but that's just kind of how it goes. Well, that's an interesting one, although we don't really have that much extra cabbage, to be honest. Now remember, these little market people can be really good at just sort of exchanging the resources you have for others to do those deliveries, right? Here's a pumpkin. We're not growing pumpkin, but we can do that little swap to this person's actually not looking that bad. If we did manage to get this person done, where we'd probably have extra turnips and extra leeks. So that card's not looking that bad in the future, maybe. But I don't think we want them now. Those are the new cards that we have available. Now we're doing the harvest phase for the next turn. We get a new field. Of course, it's the same field that we just paid $2 for. So why did we even pay $2 for it? I don't know. That might have been a critical mistake. That was just a bad 2-pack. That's just not what we needed at that time. but hopefully we'll be able to use it eventually. We harvest off of those. We're playing the 7th, I guess we're playing the 3rd round of the game. Okay, here we go. What are we going to buy? What are we going to buy? We got $2. We could buy 2 things from this section. We talked about how this guy's just free, right? We do not need this. Like, we don't need this. We can't really utilize this for a while, and it's only going to cheapen, right? Having a second immediate customer is going to cheapen the one customer that we have that we're actually thinking we might barely be able to work on. That's not good. Now, this is kind of interesting because this would get us to that access to that bean again. Access to that bean again. This means that we could actually buy a vegetable for less than shop. If we were buying grain or wheat, we could actually get it for 1 coin. And again, that wheat can just be used. It can just be used to trade at these market stalls. Man. I'm almost thinking we don't even bother with the squire. We just go with the shopper. We spend both of our bucks and we go here. That shopper, I think, is going to save us a buck or two. That shopper is going to save us a buck. So I don't think there's any reason not to get the shopper. We're getting the shopper. $1. We're getting the shopper. I'm not even looking at these other ones because we just can't even afford it. The shopper goes there in the helper section. And then the other buck. Tough. This could let us start doing beans. But the thing is, what do we have that needs beans? Well, this could let us do pumpkins, and this person wants a pumpkin. And then we could just save the beans for later. Yeah, I think this market stall is going to be useful. I think it's going to be useful to us. Oh, sorry guys, didn't mean to farm there. I just realized that that's kind of a bad spot for the supply there if I'm going to be reaching over and bumping that over there. Okay. All right, so we've gotten these 2 cards. That was the action phase completed. Now, or sorry, the card phase completed. Now we're into the action phase. And we have no money. We could probably just use this guy to do a 2-pack. If we got a field card, I'd say just forget it. Like, we just don't want a field card. So I'm not worried about that. I'm going to use this official. We're just going to use him and discard him. That's going to give us our free 2-pack. That was his special power. Okay. Oh man, this is so tempting. This is so tempting. Leaks. Oh man. Okay, so we got 2 regular customers here. Beans and cabbage, or leeks and wheat. We're growing wheat. The problem is we barely are growing enough wheat and cabbage in order to satisfy the customer as is. Is there a way? Is it possible that we could plant another wheat and plant those leeks, and then we'd still have to figure out how to get that 4th leek, but we'd have time to work on that? Or is it possible there's a cabbage over here and there's a bean over here? So it would be possible to be working on this person. In fact, this person actually pays more, and the kicker here is we'd only have to use these. We could still leave this available to plant a leek in the future, and we'd only have to use these 2. And it's 4. They're 4 slots apiece. So if we played this down and we plant a cabbage here and a bean here, it's not that inefficient. And it would just tie in perfectly with this customer. And then what we could do is we could put this customer underneath, and we could try to just work on them after this customer is satisfied. This one can sort of pop out. Again, that's the point of a 2-pack. A 2-pack, you get 2, but you only get to play 1 immediately and the other underneath, or you could discard both cards or 1 card. I think we're going to try this. So now our entire plan has changed. We wanted that pumpkin, we wanted that leek, we wanted that turnip. Now we're like, no, no, no. I'm really glad we got this market stall because we want to get that bean and we want to get that cabbage and then get those going into here, so that this customer will be happy next turn. Because right now, there's no way in a million years this customer is going to be happy with us today. We could technically get those things and just deliver them, but that doesn't set us up, like, that doesn't build our engine, right? We need to be planting these things so that we're getting that as income so that we can satisfy them every time, not just try to stay above water. So unfortunately, I can tell you already right now, this person's going to be angry this turn. We are not satisfying this person. These two are going to come up to here, satisfy this person. Again, if we don't satisfy this person, we take a penalty of $2, and that would mean a loan. That would be quite bad. So, but we're getting $5 for helping out this regular customer. And again, the actions can be done in any situation. I'm only doing the 2 packs immediately. That gives us a little bit of information to work with. But you can see how technically that last turn I did the 2 pack a little early. I didn't actually earn the money, so we cheated a little bit by, massaging that a little bit. But really, yeah, you want to make sure you have a little bit of money when you take the 2 pack. Other than that, you do want to take the 2 pack to see what you're dealing with, really. We have $5. And I think this will actually work out fairly decently. $3 to buy the cheapest vegetable from the shop. And we are running out of wheat to buy from the shop. We are literally running out. Once it's gone, like, that's it. Like, you can't just keep buying wheat. You cannot buy from the supply unless, of course, you use the shopper, which is kind of a cool thing about the shopper. We're going to use this wheat, and I'm actually going to just take it and get a cabbage. We're going to plant that cabbage into here. Just. And then, so that's $3 to buy that wheat. We're actually going to use our shopper right now. And again, the shopper lets us buy 1 vegetable from the supply, which is nice. So we'll leave a wheat behind still for 2 less than it would be at the shop. So we can actually buy a wheat for 1 coin. 1 coin to buy a wheat. Or sorry, we're not buying a wheat. What are we trying to buy? Yeah, we are buying a wheat. We're just not sowing it. We're trading it for a bean, and we're sowing the bean. Beautiful. Beautiful. Then next turn, if we actually trade for this pumpkin and get that pumpkin in the ground, we'll actually be able to clear that one off and reduce the cost of the 2 pack next round. That'll be quite good. Alrighty. We have $1 left over, which is exactly what you want to move up the prosperity track once for $1 every turn. You don't want to miss this opportunity. But we are certainly not screaming up the track. But next turn, we're getting $6 from this customer. We're getting $6 from this customer. If we can get, like, the leeks planted and get a little bit extra this and a little bit extra that, and get the, if we can get this, that'll be an influx of $11 to $13 doing this customer. So we're kind of moving and grooving here a little bit. But for now, that is the end of the turn. We've spent our buck. We've moved up the prosperity track. Luckily, we were able to do that. We're going to refresh this. So this gets removed. These all slide over. Unfortunately, these are still stuck here, and that feels really awful. We don't like those cards, and they're just stuck there. And that, again, that's part of the design to really put the screws to you in solo play. Wow. A leek and a cabbage for that rate. See, here's an example of a market stall where you need 2 vegetables to get that leek. So the leek that the market stall that we have is actually quite unique and powerful in the sense it's only 1 vegetable to get a leek. Both of these require 2 vegetables to get a leek. So this is a really powerful one that we were lucky to find early on. Okay, we're going to be starting the next round. But I think for the most part, that gives you a really good sense of how the game is played. And I think for the most part, lets people know kind of what it feels like to play it. So if you want to see the walkthrough continue, and hopefully we'll go a little bit faster in the second half of this walkthrough, go ahead and follow the link in the description, and that'll get you to part 2 of the walkthrough. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.